Feel free to check out my TeePublic after the video, and support me on Patreon. Watch till the end of the video for more. Lady Snowblood is a manga written by legendary writer Kazuo Koike, who's also known for Crying Freeman and Lone Wolf and Cub, while featuring illustrations by Kazuo Kamimura. The story was published by Shueisha and Weekly Playboy from 1972 to 73, and is about an assassin named Oyuki, who was conceived as a means for her mother to get revenge on the criminals who had raped her and murdered her father and brother. Upon being birthed, Oyuki's mother wishes for her newborn daughter to carry out her revenge while being trained by a family friend who would shape her to become a killer. Not only does the manga feature some gorgeous artwork for the time, but it was also a pretty big deal considering that you didn't really see a lot of stories at the time where not only was the protagonist a woman, but also in a role that was more common in male-driven stories. And Kazuo Koike was pretty well known for going against gender norms in his stories, as was the case for Lone Wolf and Cub and its protagonist. Also, the manga has been published in 4 English volumes thanks to Dark Horse Comics. Eventually in 1973, the manga would be adapted into a feature film simply titled Lady Snowblood, directed by Toshiya Fujita. The film essentially follows the same story as the manga, but as opposed to taking on its more serialized format, it opts for a more straightforward narrative, albeit non-linear, following Oyuki, or Yuki as she's called in the film, on a revenge quest to find and kill the culprit behind the death of her mother's family. Yuki would be played by Meiko Kaji, who's considered to be one of Japan's most beloved actresses, appearing in over 100 films such as the Stray Cat Rock series, the Sasori series, and the Gincho series. Kaji is also a successful singer, sometimes performing music for the films she stars in, as was the case for Lady Snowblood with the song Flower of Carnage, which serves as the main theme. At the time of Lady Snowblood, Kaji had grown tired of starring in exploitation films, which were all the craze in the 70s, as the Japanese film industry was in a decline. But thanks to having prior experience working with Toshiya Fujita on Stray Cat Rock, she gladly accepted the role of Yuki Kashima. Plus, it helps that she was a pre-established character who at the time was important and very well written. Actually, come to think of it, has there ever been a female action star that predates Meiko Kaji? I'm sure there's probably someone out there, but think about it. This movie came out a good while before Sigourney Weaver, Linda Hamilton, and Michelle Yeoh showed the world that women can be pretty badass. In a way, we have Meiko Kaji to thank for helping pave the way for more opportunities regarding female performers in media. The film also features Toshio Kurosawa of Samurai Assassin, several films in the Toho 815 series, and Prophecies of Nostradamus. Kurosawa plays Ryurei Ashio, a reporter who tags along with Yuki. There's also Akemi Nagishi of King Kong vs. Godzilla, and legendary actor Ko Nishimura of Yojimbo, Sword of Doom, and Mystery of Mamo. The acting performances are all just incredible here, especially Meiko Kaji as Yuki. She has this presence that truly captures both the seductive beauty and the cold demeanor of Oyuki in the manga. There's also Eiji Okada, who plays the villainous Gishiro Tsukamoto, and I just love how sinister he is. Every time he's on screen, you really want to see him get his comeuppance. For having a small budget, Lady Snowblood is a very visually pleasing film to look at. Watching Yuki wander around with her umbrella in the snow truly makes for something that's mysterious, beautiful, yet there's a hint of sadness underneath. And aside from that, the fight choreography is astounding, making it all the more impressive when you find out that Meiko Kaji did her own stunt work as Yuki. Damn, that's hardcore. Though Kaji did get injured a few times on set, but honestly, I could hardly tell with how the action sequences were crafted. Speaking of which, god damn, this movie is brutal. Easily one of the bloodiest films I've ever seen. The movie is paced very well too, maintaining a good balance when it comes to scenes that develop Yuki and all the cool fights. And the non-linear narrative helps break up the story a bit. And it all comes together with the big finale at the ball, which is absolutely wicked. I love it so much. And accompanying how beautifully badass this film is, it features an amazing score by Masaki Hirao that really holds the emotional beats and drama together very well. And of course, I gotta mention how influential Lady Snowblood is, especially as it was the main inspiration behind Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, which also featured Flower of Carnage. Upon release, Lady Snowblood would become a massive success, being hailed as one of the greatest Japanese films ever made, so much that a sequel was spawned the following year, Lady Snowblood, Love Song of Vengeance, which was made as a result of how successful its predecessor was. Toshiya Fujita returns as the director, with Meiko Kaji reprising her role once more as Yuki. With the first film already adapting the manga, Song of Vengeance is an entirely original story that's set after. Here, Yuki wanders through a beach as she slaughters several police officers who were searching for her before becoming overwhelmed and then arrested. Yuki is sentenced to death before being rescued by a secret policeman named Seishiro Kikui, played by Shin Kishida. And of course, it's not a classic Japanese film without Hideo Yamamoto, whose character is off-screen, yet his voice is certainly unmistakable. Seishiro eventually hires Yuki to investigate an anarchist named Ransui Tokunaga, who's actually based on real-life anarchist Kotoku Shusui. Tokunaga is played by Juzo Itami, who would go on to become one of Japan's finest filmmakers, with his most notable film being Tampopo. Tokunaga is in possession of a document that threatens the stability of the Japanese government, and as Yuki is able to retrieve it, Seishiro will grant her immunity. This film, while not necessarily as solid or exciting as its predecessor, it's still very good overall. It's a lot more low-key and subdued, which is certainly something to appreciate as it helps it stand out in comparison to an already amazing first film. And this is partly thanks to Fujida's directing, as screenwriter Norio Osada wasn't too fond of the script himself, as he wrote the first movie as a standalone. I mean, the first movie did adapt the entire manga after all. The acting performances are still pretty great here, especially with Shin Kishida, who you honestly cannot go wrong with. I love how as the film progresses, his motives become more questionable and mysterious. This time around, Kenjiro Hirose would do the music, and it's not bad. It fits the film pretty well, albeit not as iconic as its predecessor, and of course, the action is still pretty nice. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to say about this one. Not bad, though it's enjoyable, I'd say. And unfortunately, this movie didn't perform too well, but not too bad either. Its success was pretty moderate, which, I mean, it is hard to try and live up to an already incredible predecessor. I'd check it out if you're curious. But with all that said, the Lady Snowblood duology is certainly worth a watch, and thankfully, they are part of the Criterion Collection and are available for streaming on HBO Max. But what do you guys think? Have you seen Lady Snowblood? Drop a comment below, and I want to give a very special shout out to my channel members and my supporters on Patreon, so if you like what you see, then consider supporting the channel with the link in the description, where for at least a single dollar you can get access to my Discord server, and you can also unlock other perks like early access to videos and exclusive content. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is TitanGoji, signing off.